Hi everyone. For today, we will be discussing chemical bonds. Okay, this is chapter 3 of the inorganic chemistry. So let's first understand Lewis model of bonding. So from this term, it is known 1916, Gilbert Lewis pointed out that the lack of chemical reactivity of the noble gases indicates a high degree of stability of their electron configuration. From that, all the topics in chapter 3 nag-arise. No? So, let's highlight first this noble gases. And we have this high degree of stability. And another one is electron configuration, which I hope you are already familiar from the previous discussions. No, if not, we can do a separate discussion for this electron configuration. But right now, let's focus on these highlighted terms. Our noble gases can be found at the very end of our periodic table, no, at the last column of our periodic table. And you'll notice that when you sum up the totality of their electrons, they will equate, no, with a balance, no, or a complete octet. That means they are stable. When we say they are stable, they won't react randomly when they bump in with other atom in present in our environment. Okay, that's how stable they are, and due to their stability, we also use uh, some of them, the noble gases, as a way of shorthand writing in electron configuration, such as this one. We will discuss this further. Okay, like this one. But we will discuss this further on. Okay, so first, we will start understanding octet rule. From its name, octet, it means 8. Okay, so bakit 8? Why 8? This is the tendency of group 1A and 7A element to react in ways that achieve an electron configuration, remember, of 8 valence electron. So we'll first understand what's the difference between cation and anion. So for me to understand and remember that cation is positive, I always see the first three letters, which is cat. And cats always gives positivity. Sorry for those dog lovers. But cat gives positivity. Para mas madaling tandaan so that we can easily remember this one. Cat gives positivity. And cation is a positively charged ion. Okay? And then we have your anion, which is negatively charged particles or negatively charged ions. Okay? So for me to remember it, I use this mnemonics a negative, no, from it's a negative. So this one is negatively charged. So sometimes when I was studying chemistry, I'm always confused at cations and anions. This is because if cations is an atom that loses one or more electron, isn't will it be negative since it loses? The answer here is no, because you need to go back. Ano yung nalulose niya? On this end, we are losing electron. An electron is a negatively charged particle. And if a certain atom loses a negatively charged particle, it will gain more positivity. That's why a cation that loses a negative particle becomes a positively charged ion. Okay, I hope that's clear. Next, this is an example of what's this one? Is it a cation or an anion? This is cat always gives positivity. So a sodium, a charged sodium, a positively charged sodium is a cation. Okay. So how does a certain atom, such as sodium, which is usually this is on its stable form, on its metal form, sorry, because it's not charged particle. So usually it has 11 electrons. If you're going to search on our periodic table, sodium has 11 electrons. Let's count. From the electron configuration, we have 2 plus 2 is 4 plus 6. 10 plus 1 is 11. Okay, but but when it is charged, the last electron configuration, the 3s1, will need to lose it because we will follow octet rule. In octet rule, always remember that on its first shell, we always have 2, and then the rest we always should have 8, except for certain atoms that doesn't comply with octet. Okay, so um, I'm gonna explain further. So let's see. Sodium has 11 electrons. So this is a bit a shortcut of our octet rule, but we'll discuss it even further on the next topics. For sodium that has 11 electron, okay, its first shell, for it to be stable, should have 2. This is the first part. Then the second shell should have 8. This is the 8th part, right? And then on the last shell of sodium, it only has 1. So a sodium with 11 electron is highly reactive sodium atom. Okay? That one particle will find the rest of the 7 para matahimik siya, para matahimik yung buhay niya. Or that one electron will look for the rest of the 7 so that it would make itself stable. So for this case in sodium, it's easier to give that one only 1 electron to those that needed 1 electron. Okay? So remember that a cations, our definition is that it loses electron, and once it loses electron, it will become positive ion. Okay, it's easy for us to lose 1 electron on sodium so that it would gain a positive superscript. That means it is already a charged particle or a charged positive ion. Now, saan mapupunta si 1? You'll ask, saan mapupunta si 1? Okay. This one will find another atom, no, that will make that atom complete. So say for example, in our chlorine that have 17 electrons, say for example, no, the first one is always 2, remember? So 2 minus 17 is 15. Then the second one is 8. 15 minus 8 is 7, right? So the outer valence shell of chlorine is 7. Now, enable for this 7 to be 8, it will look for another partner, such as sodium, that can donate chlorine with 1 electron for it to be stable. It's easy for chlorine to receive an electron since it only needs 1 to complete its stabilized form, right? So if it would be easier for chlorine to receive, that means it is an anions. Okay, because anions gains electron, ibig sabihin nag-gain siya ng negativity. This one is a negative ions. That means the chlorine negative or the charged chlorine particle will contain how many electrons? It will now finally contain how many? 18 total of electron. And that one electron will be coming from the sodium. Okay? Now, what we call this bond is what we call ionic bonding. Okay? This will be further discussed, but its counterpart is covalent bonding. There's a lot of different types of bonding that we'll be discussing after your biochemistry. But for this one, we have covalent and ionic bonding. Covalent bonding exists in sharing of electrons. Usually, this exists in organic compounds such as those that contains carbon. So you'll discuss this on your organic chemistry. But for ionic bonding, remember, just like what happened with sodium and chloride, there is a sharing and receiving, or donating and receiving, or gaining and losing of electron. And remember, the end product of ionic bonding are the charged particle or the charged ions. Okay? Alright. So, in this case, this is a brief summary of the chlorine ion. So, if you'll notice, no, the names also change when it is charged. So, in this case, from its chlorine atom that can be found in the periodic table, it will now become chloride ion. So, notice the ide and ine. We will discuss that later. But for this one, this gains a negative electron. That's why chloride, now in shorthand, is written as Cl negative. Okay? Alright. So, for the octet rule, this is the main rule. Yung kanina, medyo pahapyaw lang yon. These are, the previous one is a short summary of what we will be discussing now. So, the octet rule gives us a good way to understand why group 1A and 7A elements formed ions they do, but is not perfect. So, remember, there are certain atoms, such as sulfur, phosphorus, that they will not comply on octet rule, and it's not just them. No? There's a lot of other atoms that don't comply with it. So ions of period 1A and 2A with charges greater than positive 2, they are unstable. Remember that. For example, boron does not lose its 3 valence electron to become B3 plus. No, you will not hear of this. Nor does carbon loses its 4 valence electron and gain C4 plus. Usually those with carbon, they share electron, no, in a bonding we call covalent bond. So ions of period 1b and 2b elements with charges greater than negative 2 are also unstable. So for example, carbon does not gain 4 valence electron to become C4 negative. So the octet rule does not always apply, okay, especially with group 1b to 7b, or the transition elements found in the periodic table, most of which forms ions with two or more different positive charges. Okay, all right. So these are the elements. This is how we name. Remember chloride? Remember chlorine? It becomes chloride when it became a charged ion. So elements of groups 1A, 2A, and 3A form only one type of cation. So the name of the cation is the name of the metal. Remember? So I'm gonna show you group 1A and 2A. Sorry. Group 1A and 2A, tsaka yung ating 3A, if they become charged particle, they are positively charged particle, right? They are positively charged particle. And when they are charged, you will name them accordingly. And how you should name them, you should use the metal name or this one. So these are the metal name, the ones that you can find on your periodic table, plus the term ion. So hindi siya yung nagbabago kagaya ng chlorine, nagiging chloride. Bromine, nagiging bromide. So for this one, you just copy the metal name plus add the ion. Okay, that's how you name group 1A, 2A, and your 3A. For naming cations derived from the transition and inner transition elements, most of which form more than one type of cation, there are two options. So you'll notice that some oxidation number have higher and lower oxidation number. So say for example, iron. If you're going to notice, iron has positive 2 and positive 3 oxidation number. Ano ba yan? Ayan, the ion charge is Fe2 plus and 3 plus. So, how would you name or how would you know if you would be using Fe2? Okay, how would you know if you would be using Fe plus 2 or Fe plus 3? Since if we notice plus 2 and plus 3 right here, that means that this ion is charged ion, right? So how would you name them, no? For suffix, we have us to show the lower positive charge and ik for the higher positive charge. So how would I remember them? I'm usually confused on this one, but I remember them as ik. If you're going to pronounce ik, it sounds high pitch. If you're going to pronounce us, it sounds low pitch. So that's how I remember this ik and us. So for this one, this positive 2 would name it as not ironus. The right term for this one is ferus. No, ferus. Sometimes you use the Latin name and then add the us and then uh, uh, we use the Latin name and then add us and Latin name and also add ik. So for this one, ik, we are the highest, we'll be using ferric. Okay. Alright, so these are other names with more than one or those that form two different positive ions. So for copper, we use cuprous and cupric for higher oxidation number or charge ion. So for iron, this is ferrous and ferric. We have mercury, we use mercurous and mercuric. For tin, we have stannus, which is the Latin name of tin, stannus, and stannic. We also have lead, which is plumbus and plumbic and more. Okay, so for monoatomic, from its name, mono means one. Monoatomic containing only one atoms. Remember, we are already in anions. Yung kanina natin din-discuss, they are cations. Now, anions, they are negatively charged particle. They are the ones receiving an electron. So, how do we name them? Ito na yung chlorine, chloride. Okay? Okay, so for most of the monoatomic ion, we have hydrogen for hydride. Okay, fluoride. It will become chloride. We usually add IVE. Okay, oxide, sulfide. Okay, for the negatively charged particle. Now, we also have the polyatomic, and medyo mahirap tandaan, but we'll have to remember this. There's no code or pattern for this one. You can just familiarize this one. Sometimes it's included in your exam, but sometimes it is asked but then on some of your exams. Okay? So, let's move forward to bonding. Forming chemical bonds. Ito yung sinabi ko kanina. I think we already discussed these two types of bonding. We have ionic and covalent, but let's read. According to the Lewis model, an atom may lose or gain electron to acquire a field valence shell, such as the case of your sodium chloride. And an ionic bond is the result of the force of attraction between cations and anions. Okay? They are ionic bond. Okay? Now, an atom may share an electron. Ayan. So, in the case, ito na mga ating mga organic compounds with one or more other atoms to acquire the field valence shell. So, a covalent bond is the result of that force of sharing. Okay? Okay, we'll discuss more ng ionic ngayon more than covalent. Covalent will be vastly discussed on your organic chemistry. Okay, so we'll move forward with our electron negativity. Okay, so when we say electron negativity, this is the measure of, this is included actually in the periodic trends. Let me check. Okay, I think I have already discussed the periodic trend. We're just going to hover a bit more to it. When we say electronegativity, this is a measure of an atom's attraction for the electrons it share in a chemical bond with another atom. So on a Pauling scale, remember that fluorine is the most electronegative element with a value of 4. So this is the trend of your electronegativity. From left to right of your periodic table, it increases, and from bottom to top, it also increases. Always remember that from left to right, it increases, and from bottom to up, it also increases. So fluorine is located somewhere right here. Let's check on our periodic table. Hold on. Okay, this one is, sorry, this one pala. Ito pala, nandito pala sa area na ito. Fluorine is right here and it contains the highest electronegativity. Okay, hold on. Let's check if it's really 4. You can check it here on this periodic table. You can download this periodic table as well. I'm not affiliated with this one, but I just see the convenience of this periodic table because it contains everything that I need. Where is that? Okay, the electronegativity of your fluorine is 3.98. So it is rounded off. That's why the value on some periodic table is 4. And all other elements are assigned values relative to fluorine. Okay, so electronegativity, remember, is a periodic property. Kasama siya ng atomic size, electron affinity. I think I have discussed and I have you remember the periodic trend already. For that, I will created a table for that, but I hope you can remember them, no, even now. So this is fluorine on the periodic table, and these are the listed electronegativity. So you'll notice that from left to right, the electronegativity increases, and from top bottom to top, it also increases. Okay, next. Okay, so these are ionic compounds. According to Lewis model, an ionic bond is formed by the transfer of one or more valence electron. We already know that. This is already a summary. Now, the more electronegative an atom gains, one or more valence electron, and it becomes an anion. And the less electronegative atom loses one or more valence electron, and it becomes a cation. So we'll base. Actually, this is a deeper explanation, no? But I've explained this a while ago that since cations such as sodium has only one valence electron outside of it um, shell, no, it's easy for sodium to let go. No, so also sodium is electronegative, so it's easy for it to lose one electron. Electronegativity is okay. Electronegativity is described as an ability, no, to attract shared electrons when forming a chemical bond. So that's how these atoms are reacting. So that's why sodium it has an ease to share the one electron that it have to chloride that have 7, which is if we're going to check on the periodic table, chloride is more electronegative than the sodium on our group 1A, right? Then electronegativity increases from left to right. Okay, now in forming sodium, I think I have already discussed this one. This is forming sodium chloride, which is stable salt. One electron is transferred from a sodium atom to a chlorine atom. So if we're going to check, this is what we have drawn just a while ago. This one electron on the valence shell of our sodium will be donated with a highly electronegative chloride, a chlorine. Okay, since this one loses electrons, it gains a superscript of positive. This gains one electron, it gains a superscript of negative. Okay, now the total number of positive charges must equal the total number of negative charges. So lithium ion and bromide ion form lithium bromide. Okay, so on its naming, we'll discuss how it's being named. But always remember this one. This is how if you want to better understand it. Since lithium ion has positive 1, right? This one is positive 1. And bromine is negative 1. What usually happen if they bonded. Alright, so for this one, from its introduction, the total number of positive charge must always equal the number of negatively charged particle or negatively charged yes, particle. So for this part, okay, for this positive one, I usually think that this one will be transferred at the subscript, and then this oxidation number would be transferred to this subscript. Okay, and same goes for another. That's why if you're going to notice, barium has positive 2, iodide, since it is already a charged atom. Iodide is negative 1, so barium plus 2, iodide negative 1. If you're going to follow yung crisscross na ginawa ko, um, this positive 2 will be transferred at the subscript here, and negative 1 will be transferred at the subscript of your barium. So all um, all the charges must always equate to 0. Okay? That's why if we're going to compute on this, positive 1 plus negative 1, it will equate to 0, meaning they are neutral or unreactive. For this one, if we're going to check barium iodide, so that means you'll have 1 right here, but even if you don't write 1, that's okay, that's understood, and you have 2 right here. Now, if I'm going to compute for barium iodide, okay, barium iodide, the charge of your barium right here is 2. The charge of your iodide right here is negative 1. If I'm going to multiply this oxidation number to the subscript, that will be positive 2 times 1, okay, plus negative 1 times 2, sorry, negative 1 times 2. So that would be 2 plus negative 2. That would equate to 0. That means that it is neutral. Okay, this will really help if we are understanding, if we are going to search of the oxidation number and we're dealing with a lot of different atoms in one compound. So as we can remember, there are certain atom that contains more than one oxidation number, and if this certain atom is sandwiched um, in between two atom, it's hard for us to understand if it's positive 2 or positive 3, such as those with iron, right? So this computation is really helpful on that. Okay, so this will also be helpful, say for example, on a polyatomic compound. We have this sodium and we have this bicarbonate atom. But it's easy if we're going to combine them as sodium bicarbonate, since they both have this polyatomic compound in totality has negative 1 charge. So it would just combine into sodium 1 and bicarbonate 1. So even if we don't write 1, that's okay. But if we are going to check, say for example in this bicarbonate, oops, sorry. Say for example in this bicarbonate, we have HCO3 and then an oxidation number of negative 1. This, remember, is an oxidation number of the whole bicarbonate. The computation of this one would not be equal to 0 since the totality of the oxidation number is equivalent to negative 1. So if we're going to look, since carbon has a lot of oxidation number, we'll ask ourselves what is the oxidation number of carbon right here. So there are certain rules for this one. Maybe it will be helpful if we will be discussing this on a separate video. But there are certain rules that when we are dealing with hydrogen, it will always be positive 1 unless it is hydride, which is negative 1. And oxygen is always negative 2, except for those with peroxide. So for this one, we don't know what is the oxidation number of your carbon. So how would we compute and look for the oxidation of carbon? We have to compute. So let's write positive 1 plus x plus negative 2 for oxygen times 3, because there are 3 number of oxygen right here. That would be negative 6. Now we'll move all the movable number on the other side of the equation for the x to remain on the left side of the equation. So that would be negative 1, negative 6 would be positive 6, negative 1 would be negative 1. So x will be equivalent to negative, sorry, this one is positive 4, since 6 is the highest number and 6 is positive on this area. Now if we're going to check if there is an oxidation number of carbon that is 4, okay, remember positive 4, because I think this will be removed once I touch on this other side of my screen. So let's check if there is a positive 4 carbon oxidation number. Okay, hold on. Okay, positive 4, check right here. Oxidation states, positive 4. So the carbon in bicarbonate has an oxidation number of 4 because there's a lot of oxidation state. We have 0 to negative 4, positive 1 to positive 4. So we'll have to identify. Sometimes the question in your exam would be like that. So we'll have to understand the certain rules for knowing this. But for this time, the thing that we should know and understand first is that the total number of positive charge must equal to the total number of the negative charge. Okay, so to name a binary ionic compound, the name of the metal from which the positive ion is formed, followed by the name of the negative ion. Subscripts are not directly specified in the name. Okay, you will not say aluminum chloride 3. Okay, so how does this one happen? Aluminum, remember, has an oxidation state of 3. Chloride, as we know, has oxidation state of negative 1. So as we have studied just a while ago, yung crisscross method natin, and then it would be aluminum chloride 3. If we're going to compute, if it would equate to 0, now you'll notice that as a totality of a compound, we never put 0 right here. Now, it's already understood unless it's negative 1 or negative 2, etc. But on this case, since aluminum has positive 3 times 1, that would be plus 3 plus negative 1 ang ating chloride for our oxidation number times 3 is negative 3. So, positive 3 plus minus 3 is equal to 0. Okay, so for this case, if you don't see certain oxidation state of this combined atom, it's already known that it is 0, it is stable. Okay, we have lithium bromide. So, naming this binary ionic compound, we just mention the metal name. Okay, name the metal from which the positive ion is formed. So, that's aluminum. And then mention the ionic form of the anion. So, from chlorine, it becomes chloride. So, that's why it's aluminum chloride, lithium bromide, silver sulfide, magnesium oxide, potassium chloride, and lithium hydride. Okay, I hope that's clear. Next. Okay, so for this one, to name a binary compound of metals that forms two or more different cations. So what will happen if we have copper, which has 2 oxidation number, iron as well. No? So we will be confused if it's cupric or cuprous, ferrous or ferric. So first, we're going to um, compute to know if it's cuprous or cupric yung ginamit niya oxidation state. Ito yung sinasabi ko kanina. That's why it's essential for you to compute or know how to compute. So say for example, copper oxide, cupric oxide, sorry. We can mention as copper, but we should mention the oxidation state right here. We can also use it as cupric oxide, okay? So, copper, remember that there is no oxidation state in totality. That means it's 0, right? So, copper and oxygen right here. And our x would be copper because we didn't know if it's 2. Say for example, we don't know this part, we don't know this part. So we don't know if copper is 2 or 1. So for this case, always remember that oxygen is always negative 2, ang oxidation state that we are using, except for peroxide. Okay, so for copper, we have uh, positive 1 and positive 2, and we don't know which one is which, no? So this will be our x plus negative 2 for oxygen. Since we only have 1 oxygen, that means 2, negative 2 times 1 is still negative 2. In totality, it would be 0. Okay? So x, and then we'll transfer this 2 to the other side. That would make it positive. X is 2. So our copper is 2. Okay, do you understand that? Let's move to another exercise. So we have copper 2 O. Okay, remember oxygen is always 2. Copper right here is X. But in this case, copper is 2. Okay, so that would mean we have 2x. Since this is x times 2, that would be 2x plus negative 2 equal to 0 since there is no oxidation state for the totality. Now, what do I mean with the oxidation state for the totality? Last time I've shown you bicarbonate, and for bicarbonate, it has a total oxidation state of negative. That's not the oxidation state of oxygen. We know that oxygen is negative too. That negative oxidation state is the totality of your bicarbonate because bicarbonate is a polyatomic ion. Okay? Now for this one, since we don't see negative right here or positive right here, or that means it automatically is 0. So in this case, for copper oxide, 2x plus negative 2 for oxygen, because negative 2 times 1 is still negative 2, equals 0. Okay, so for this one, 2x is equivalent to, let's move negative 2 on the other side. That means, alright, so we'll have positive 2 on the other side, positive 2. So let's divide it by 2 on both sides. X would be equivalent to 1, right? Okay, sorry, this one is 1. Okay, so X is 1, meaning copper right here is 1. And same goes with ferrous oxide and ferric oxide. We'll just comply with which one is the highest. Since copper is the highest in number 2, we would name it as cupric oxide. And copper is cuprous oxide. Ferrous having 2. Ferrous is lower yung us and ik yung highest for 3. That means ferrous oxide and ferric oxide. Okay? So you can practice computing for this one. So you can master the computation on finding which oxidation state to use. Okay? Okay, so to name ionic compound that contains polyatomic ions, name the positive ion first and then followed by the name of the negative. Always use that, no? Positive ion first, then negative ion. So cation first and then the um, anion supersedes. So for this one, this is sodium. This one is polyatomic, NO3, nitrate. Okay, this one, NO3, is a negative ion. If you're going to check at its polyatomic charge, NO3 has a charge of -1 and sodium has a charge of +1. So as we name it, we should put positive ion first, then negative ion on it next. So we have sodium nitrate. We have also calcium carbonate. Next, we have this one, H2PO4 is a polyatomic compound. That would be sodium dihydrogen phosphate. Ammonium is +1, if I'm correct. +1, I think, as a totality. So that still is a positive ion. That means it's a cation. So this one is ammonium hydroxide. Next is the iron carbonate. No? Alright, so for iron carbonate, we can also name it as ferrous carbonate. No? And again, we can use the computation I gave you to know, to understand. At the very bottom of your periodic table, you'll notice that there's a table for polyatomic compounds. And you'll see the oxidation state of each of them, or the commonly known as polyatomic compounds, at the very bottom of your periodic table. Okay? Next, we have forming covalent bond. So this covalent bond is most commonly encountered in your organic compound. Remember that when we hear covalent, it means sharing. Okay, sharing of one or more sharing of one or more pairs of electrons. So say for example, on hydrogen, for hydrogen, okay, remember the octet rule. On its first shell, we have 2. And if we're going to check how many electron does hydrogen have? Syempre, equal yan sa number ng kanyang proton. If the proton is 1, the the electron is also 1. So, in this case, hydrogen, hold on. Alright, so it's right here. Okay, electron is 1, proton is 1. And we need how many on our first shell to make it stable? We need 2. On the second shell, we need 8. But hindi siya magtutuloy sa 8 kasi on the first shell, dalawa lang. And we know that hydrogen only have 1. So, kung i-share pa niya yung isa niya, mawawala na siya ng electron. Okay? So, ang better na gawin kay hydrogen is to do covalent bonding with another hydrogen or another atom such as carbon. So for this one, itong electron na ito will be shared with another electron. That's why we will form H2. Okay? So that's how covalent bonding happens. Ganun din sa ating carbon and other organic compounds. So the thing with covalent bond, meron tayong tinatawag na polarity. No? And we have non-polar and polar. And it will depend on the difference of their electronegativity. So it's easy to compute. No? So non-polar covalent electrons that are shared equally. And polar covalent bonds, such as those such as water, they are shared unequally, or electron sharing is not equal. So the equality of the sharing depends on the relative electronegativity, or kung sino doon yung mas malaking manghatak ng negativity ng isang atom. Okay, that's why makikita nyo yon dun sa electron cloud niya pag tinitingnan nyo yung itsura ng water sa 3D space niya. So for this computation, to know if it's non-polar covalent, polar covalent, or whether it be ionic compound, we can compute for this. We'll just need to subtract the two atoms electronegativity. So if the difference is less than 0.5, then it's non-polar. If it's between 0.5 to 1.9, that's polar. And if it's greater than 1.9, that will be ionic. Okay? This nonpolar and polar, this usually exists between two nonmetals or a nonmetal and a metalloid. And ionic compound exists in a metal and nonmetal, such as si sodium, which is a metal, and chlorine, which is a nonmetal, which we know na kanina pa natin discuss na siya ay ionic bonding ang kinikreate. Okay, remember this table, maaaring lumabas to sa inyong exam. So these are some example. You can practice with them. Do not look on the answer yet. We have this oxygen. We're going to search for oxygen's we're going to look for oxygen's electronegativity, and if we're going to check, it's 3.5. Okay? I think nasa baba ata. Okay. Okay. So, oxygen's electronegativity is 3.44, but on some reference it's 3.5, then subtract it with hydrogen 2.1, that would be 1.4. If we're going to go back to our reference, no, 2.4 is somewhere between 1.4 is somewhere in between 0.5 to 1.9, that would give it a polar covalent bonding. No, and oxygen is a non-metal, right? And hydrogen is also a non-metal. That's why it's polar covalent, okay? And the rest goes on. You can practice on this later after we finish our discussion. So in a polar covalent bond, remember what's the definition? When we say polar, it means unequal sharing, and non-polar, it means equal. Okay? So to remember, we have the opposite: non kapag shared, not kapag polar. Okay? So hindi pwedeng not. Okay, I hope you understand that namunik. But then, it's easy to understand. Non-polar kapag equal, polar kapag non. Okay, not equal. So, in polar covalent bond, what's polar again? Polar is non-equal, so or unequal. So, the more electronegative atom attracts the shared electron more strongly and acquires a partial negative charge, no, indicated by delta negative or the head of the cross arrow. So, the less electronegative, sila yung magkakaroon naman ng delta positive. Ibig sabihin, yung more electronegative atom that attracts or hoards the electronegativity of the shared electron, sila yung mas malaki yung cloud ng electron. And you'll notice when you're writing that they have this delta negative symbol right here. Okay? Okay, so, okay, so let's end that part, chapter 3, part 1. I'll be continuing this discussion for drawing Lewis structure, exception of your octet, the resonance part, the VSEPR model, which is a really long discussion and medyo mahaba yung list. And I think that's the end. Molecular polarity as well. Okay, for your chemical bonds. Okay, so that ends our part 1 discussion. Thank you so much for listening.